Ah, joyous day. How about we journey? Come and journey with me into the text adventures of Christmas, which is gonna take forever to get through. Just wanted to let everybody know out there, everybody. This is gonna take forever to get through. So let's have fun. Holidays past and present. When I was a child, Christmas was my favorite day of the year. My family was always crazy busy with work and school, but when December 25th rolled around, it was all about family. Just us, some music, snow on the ground, and a tree that reached the ceiling. It was magic. As I got older, the holiday became less and less special. My siblings went away, my parents broke up, and I always held Christmas in my heart. But I I believed in Santa. I needed Santa. Little did I know that Santa had died. What? No way. Santa can't die. Duh. He's an elf. Wasn't real. Are you crazy? Santa's too real. Had been kidnapped. No one knew at first the Christmas spirit was so strong that everything at the North Pole just kept on going as if nothing happened. Of course, the elves and Mrs. Claus knew Santa was gone, but they also knew that the world must never know. If people of Earth learned Santa was in trouble, in true mortal peril, what would raise their spirits during dark times? What would Christmas mean anymore? And so it was that Santa's closest friend, an elf named Twinkle, took over Kringle's annual route, and no one was ever the wiser. Until Twinkle lost an eye, strange visitor arrived one day, Mrs. Claus. Mary and had her hands full, Mrs. Claus took over the gift delivery. Mary had her hands full overseeing other aspects of the operation. The last thing she wanted to do was deliver presents too. Plus, she's allergic to reindeer dander. What's the deal with everyone's obsession over people losing eyes? Strange visitor arrived. The elves had toiled tirelessly without Santa for decades, constantly worrying about their beloved patriarch and eagerly awaiting some good news about the jolly old elf. So the arrival of a visitor piqued everyone's interest. This visitor, with his shimmering eyes and long white beard, would have been a dead ringer for Saint Nick in his early years, before all the dinners of milk and cookies led to his considerable paunch. But this was no merry elf. No, this was Santa's brother, Terry. Terry Claus, is that supposed to be some kind of pun? Something else? Well, obviously. Really? But really, that's as good as a description as any. The visitor who came was a mangled and angry spirit who hated everything about the holidays and cheer and snow and elves and reindeer and stockings and core stuff to streamline toy production without resulting in outsourcing domestic jobs to politically lopsided countries with lax labor laws. He called himself Claus. Oh, right. That's. I thought the other one was Claus, which is why I skipped it. But anyway, we had no idea at the time that this dark monstrosity was ripped right from Santa's brain. That Saint Nick's captor, an alien overlord named Zinyak, was breaking Santa's mind piece by piece. Zinyak had taken everything good in Kringle, crumpled it up, spat on it, and dripped it in evil. The result was Claus, Santa's dark shadow. Zinyak had sent Claus to the North Pole to destroy the holidays to get the leaders of the... Hardly. By mistake. Gailey's tried to be serious to destroy the holidays, and he was successful. Christmas fell, the North Pole burned, and as the joy drained from the season, the spirit of the world turned as a sackcloth. But that is a different story. Rise of Claus. The assault on the North Pole was swift and brutal. The elves mounted a valiant resistance, but with no Santa to give them the holiday boost they needed, even they knew they ultimately could not win. It didn't help matters any that Santa's most trusted elf and the one who has taken over gift-giving duties in his absence had been persuaded to Claus' side. I am, of course, talking about Teacup. No, she was let go following the workplace incident. Turtle. Turtle, what kind of name is that for an elf? A pixie, maybe, but an elf? Twinkle. If there is one bright spot to Santa's incarnation incarceration by Zinyak, it's that jolly old elf. Is that the jolly old elf didn't have to see his best friend in the world turn against him in the holiday's darkest hour. Santa would have shattered. If there's one bright spot to Santa's incarnation... I pressed A. What the fuck? Why did it happen? It looked like it happened twice. I wish I could tell you that Claus had coerced, threatened, or bullied Twinkle into allying with the foul creature's plan. But the truth was far prettier than that. Twinkle was simply tired of being a replacement Santa. The elf took to Claus's cause with gusto. It was dark time. Worse still was that Twinkle knew Christmas's one true weakness. He knew the one thing that would irreparably turn the tide against Mrs. Claus and the elf's resistance. The ingredient is love and bourbon. The combo to Santa save. It's 1-2-2-5. Nobody's surprised by that, right? No, actually not really. Well, actually, for me, it would be a surprise because here in the Netherlands, we have day, month, year. So it's 25-12. Not 12-25. The North Pole. The source of Santa's power and the most potent weapon in the elven arsenal. Crafted by the shop's most talented elves and blessed by Father Christmas himself, the North Pole is a weapon capable of channeling holiday cheers into a blast of such high intensity it can level a large city in a mushroom cloud of concentrated happiness. It also smells faintly like peppermint. But no one, not Mary, not Santa, not even Blitzen, on one of his drinking binges, would dare unleash its power. If the North Pole fell into Twinkle's hands, into Claus's hands, then all would be lost. Claus unleashed a full-on assault. His army was unstoppable. The first to fall were... The snowmen are not allowed to carry weapons. It only causes problems. The Cinder Boys Elven Militia. The subject of a short-lived reality show on Wealth. The Cinder Boys Elven Militia never could do much of anything right. The Flying Reindeer. You know Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen. It doesn't really end the same way. It doesn't really have the same punch to it. They were the first to die. Claus and his evil army put their heads on pikes and paraded them around the workshop. It wasn't long after that, as I would later learn, that Claus built his team of mechanical creatures, the Robo-Deer. It wasn't long before the elf resistance and all of Christmas was in shambles. Claus locked Mary away on a remote ice floe and claimed the North Pole for his own. But he was unable to wield it because it relied on the power of giving, even if it was a WMD. But it didn't matter, for Claus was in charge now. The sky over the workshop darkened and twinkled. That traitor became a slave driver. The only hope the world had was a group of wacky teenagers. I know. Sing a song around the Christmas tree. I'm glad you're able to make jokes during a time like this. A renegade elf. Tinsel was his name. This lone elf managed to break off from the others and escape the ever-watching eye of Twinkle and Claus. Tinsel went to find help, to turn back time if necessary, in order to save the holidays, and he would find it, but not before the entire world got put on the naughty list. A Christmas Carol. Claus had taken over the workshop. He had the North Pole in his possession. Mrs. Claus was locked away. The reindeer were slain. Twinkle, the traitorous lout, was working the elves to the bone. It was a dark time in the Christmas history. It was about to get darker, with only hours until Christmas. Claus and his minions didn't have long to ruin the holidays. But they didn't need much time. Claus's first stage in Operation Black Christmas was an anti-Christmas ad campaign, a strict dress code for all the worker employees, or the production of dangerous toys. Okay, that wasn't part of his plan yet. That was part of his plan, yes, but that's not what we were talking about here. Claus's twisted operation would only benefit from the months-long barrage of Christmas propaganda. An anti-Christmas ad campaign would be counterproductive. The production of dangerous toys. Long gone were the days of dollies and trains. Claus and his elves rebuilt the machines used to create toys, so they now produce only weapons of war. An army of elves wasn't enough for him. He wanted more, bigger, meaner soldiers. He wanted to turn the world's children to his side. After all, everybody still thought Santa was in charge. News of Nick's imprisonment hadn't spread beyond the workshop, and that happened decades ago. The people of Earth were oblivious to Claus's regime and his evil intent. Claus was counting on them to do as Santa told them. If Santa gave them guns and knives and nuclear warheads to play with, who would turn it down? Good little boys and girls, people who didn't believe in Christmas, anyone who was sane. Well, yes, maybe. Look. Anyway, that was right. And so the elves went about making their weapons and deadly toys. I thought it was wrong. And into Claus's sack they went. As the hour of judgment loomed, the spirit around the workshop was dire. No one dared speak up to oppose their taskmaster Twinkle or his boss, the vile Claus. Come midnight, Claus climbed into a sleigh and went about his annual route. His robo-deer braying? Okay, in the cold winter's night, Claus set an arsenal into the stockings and under the decorated trees of every household. Not everyone got presents, though. There were those Claus had put on the naughty list. Those people got something much worse. Fruitcake, internal tormented pain, bunny pajamas. They should be so lucky. Fruitcake. Hey, some people like fruitcakes. What's wrong with you? Eternal torment and pain. Even worse, those poor souls, unfortunate enough to be deemed naughty by Claus, were not simply denied presents or subjected to lashings. No, Claus had something much worse planned for them. On Christmas morning, those who had not made the nice list were seized by mechanical nutcrackers and whisked away to the workshop. They were to become the subject of Claus's grand experiment. He needed those of a naughty disposition, too. Watch soap operas with, scrub the robots. No, Claus prefers to watch those alone. Scrub the robo-deer stables. Cleaning the robo-deer stables is one of the few pleasant tasks at the workshop, since the machines are engineered to turn their grain-like energy source into a custard that tastes vaguely like chocolate chip cookies. Or so I've heard. I've heard. You know. Turn to special soldiers. As it turns out, Mrs. Claus wasn't simply locked in a prison on that ice floe. She was being forced by Claus and his crew to create, well, the only word for them is abominations. She was making gingerbread men, not just ordinary gingerbread men made of sugar and flavor. These were cookie soldiers bent on world domination, driven by an insatiable hunger for war. But the gingerbread men experiment was failing. They were lacking that special ingredient, human brains. Full thrust and assault. Christmas had come, and with it, the reckoning of Claus. The good were given weapons. The not so good were kidnapped by sentient nutcrackers to be turned into malicious gingerbread men. Moms and dads around the globe attempted to take the guns and knives and grenade launchers from their children, but were met by meltdowns, temper tantrums, and the occasional rude gesture. The rude gesture? No. How could mommy and daddy hate Santa? Why would they take his gifts away from them? Without an answer, the parents had no choice but to relent. But this was only the first phase of Claus's plans. The second was enacted on Valentine's Day. No way, Claus. No way Claus could wait that long. St. Patrick's Day. As a longtime fan of snakes, Claus wanted nothing to do with that man. New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve on 2013. A day which will live in infamy. A fleet of sleighs, large enough to block out the sun, descended from the northern tip of the earth like a black cloud. No one knew it was coming. No one was prepared. Gingerbread men, crazed nutcrackers, elven turncoats morphed into giants by Claus's power, and a stampede of horde of robo deer stormed across the land, scared, defenseless, and more than a little confused. The people of Earth holed up in their homes, unsure of what to do. The little were they prepared for what happened next. For Claus's last punch in the sack was even more nefarious, more wicked. Claus's master stroke was an army of children for fruitcake. Seriously, fruitcake isn't that bad. An army of children, and that was actually correct. What no one knew was that those toys that Claus had given the young people of Earth on Christmas morning, the bayonets, the flamethrowers, and mine launchers, emitted a high-pitched noise only perceivable by children that turned them into mindless zombies when triggered by Claus. By pressing a button on the head sleigh, Claus activated his army. The kids picked up their weapons and took their parents hostage. The grown-ups were forced into large, gaudily wrapped packages, tossed into a large pack, and hauled away to the workshop. Those nutcrackers set about destroying all that was left behind, smashing cars and bikes, setting homes aflame. With the world burning and its citizens captured, Claus set about on the next phase of his plan. But what Claus didn't count on was... What did he not count on? His heart growing 3 sizes that day. Unless Claus had been eating a whole lot of bacon? No. An angel getting its wings. Sorry, Clarence, not this time. A rogue elf. Tinsel, the elf who had thwarted Claus' forces and escaped the workshop, had made it to civilization just in time to tell a small ragtag group of regular people what Claus, Twinkle, and the rest of their minions had been plotting. Trekking southward from the pole was no mean feat, but Tinsel knew he must get the message out. He had to let the people of Earth know what was coming, and he knew, more than anything, that the best people to tell were the United Nations. Following the worst Christmas ever, the United Nations had temporarily disbanded NASA. Wow. Tinsel thought NASA was a brand of hot chocolate, actually. The Saints. That's right, the Saints. Well, actually, just one saint. Me. Who is this me we're speaking of? I thought actually this was actually by someone else. A big fan of my reality dating show. I Wanna Sleep with Shaundi. Tinsel was fixated on finding me, both to get an autograph and to help save the world, and maybe also to sleep with you. But hey, who knows? We'll save that for the next time. Not only had Tinsel managed to get away, he brought something with him, a small pouch of Christmas magic. He didn't have enough to just wish Claus away, but he did have enough so that even if... Let me see here. Okay, there's still nothing here. Let's see here. He didn't have enough to just wish him away, so that if enough people believed really hard, the magic dust might be able to free the people Claus had brainwashed. It was a long shot, but it was all we had. Of course, the first thing I did was sleep with him. No, I did not sleep with him. You didn't? Smoke a bulb? No, I don't smoke a bulb. Assemble the crew. Hey, I knew I could handle things on my own, but it never helps to have backup. That is indeed true. That is indeed true. The first one I called was Johnny. First things first, I wanted more than an elf watching my back. Kinsey was next. She then insisted on calling Keith David, but he was last seen on location playing himself in his own life story. and nobody had his number. Ben King had taken the money he'd made on that weirdo sci-fi book he wrote and was on some remote island somewhere. I suggested Matt, but Kinsey shut it down. Apparently she had enough of sharing the spotlight with him. Every second we weren't taking action was another moment Claus was ruining the planet. I made a call to only bring one more person. Asha. Asha's good people, especially when after everything that went down, but I figured we weren't going to get her without Matt being on board. I didn't want to click it again. Yes, of course. The only person who could possibly round about humanity's last-ditch effort is a clueless, fame-obsessed, off-key singing celebrity of the moment with serious boundary issues. The boss. Of course, they spent the first 20 minutes laughing in my face. They didn't believe in Santa. They figured, or I guess, of course, he spent the first 20 minutes laughing in my face. He didn't believe in Santa. He figured Santa Claus was just some crazy alien who followed us home, gave kids a bunch of guns, and was now unleashing its armada on us. Which, oddly enough, is actually a more plausible explanation. He was down for helping. Anytime shooting bad guys is part of the plan, the boss wants involved. But no way was he buying into Christmas magic or elves or any of that. I like to think he changed his mind. I like to think they changed their minds. He changed his mind. Gotcha. Once they met Tinsel, once they saw the Christmas dust. But they didn't. Of course not. Have you met the boss? Look, I respect the hell out of him. And I'm loyal as a dog to him. But open-minded, he isn't. Once he gets some ID in his head, he just... I'm going off point. Alright, fuck it. I'm going off point. Sure. 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 Are you sure they're dead? Jesus fucking Christ. I'm going off point. Anyway, we had our crew, and you know what? It felt good. Me, Kinsey, the boss, Johnny, lean and mean. Oh, and Tinsel. Lean and mean, and really short. I mean, seriously short. He came up to my kneecaps. I wasn't even going to think about wearing a skirt around this guy. Sorry, going off track again. We had the crew. We had some magic dust. We had an objective. Take out Claus. How we were actually going to do that? Well, that wasn't entirely clear. That was laid out and ready to go. Since when did the Saints ever lay out a plan? We'll be told in the next adventure segment. Wasn't entirely clear, I think. True, but... we'll be told in the next one. Yep. Indeed, it will be told in number 6. But I think I will be actually right back, because I have actually some small stuff to do right now. So I do not have time to continue this on. But this will be one video, so I'll be back in a sense for you guys within a second. But for me, it will be actually 30 minutes before I start the other 3. Oh, this is going to be fantastic. Anyway, so yeah. I'll see you guys in a bit. Hello, everyone. Oh, wait. Right. This is a continuation of the last video. I'm back. Wow, okay. Sorry. Never really done this before. We got 3 more chapters to go in the Christmas text adventure. A World Without Christmas. So, yeah. Let's just hop back into it with Operation Holiday Hustle. Claus was holding the world hostage. Tinsel had finally made his way to me with his sack of magic dust, which was only kind of disturbing. The crew, the important parts anyway, had been assembled. The Avengers had been assembled. We knew we wanted to get all those people who had been brainwashed by Claus' twist presence on our side, and Tinsel assured us the magic dust could do it. But of course, there was a problem, which was hitting enough people with it. The elf forgot and snorted it all. Claus found us first. Here you go. No, but I kind of think he wanted to. Hitting enough people. Oh, apparently it was the case. I thought it was the other guy found them first. According to Tinsel, you had to come into contact with the dust to be affected by it. We only had a little bit, meaning we couldn't waste a speck, and no good way of distributing it to a wider audience. Kinsey said she could produce more if she had the components, but Tinsel said that only Santa could bless this stuff. Without Santa, it was just dead skin cells and sawdust. Johnny suggested putting it into a sprayer and hosing people with it. Not a bad idea. But it was the boss who came up with the best plan. Crop dusting. Excuse me, what? That's true? Yeah. It appears sometime during the presidency, Pierce had the great idea of hooking up an aerial application apparatus to Air Force One. From what the boss said, it was to be part of Pierce's attempt to paint the whole world purple. Our glorious communications director, ladies and gentlemen. Well, turns out this harebrained scheme of Pierce's was actually going to come in handy. Under the cover of darkness, we made our way to the hangar. We were quite surprised Claus hadn't set up defenses around the command center or anything, whether that was a product of his ego or just an oversight is hard to say, and prepared for our counter-assault. We had just gotten everything in order when we realized Air Force One was out of gas. Claus's force attacked us. Pierce appeared in a fit of jealous rage. Ha! No, but man, that's totally something Pierce would do, isn't it? True. Out of gas. Okay, true, it had been out of gas, but we caught that early on, thankfully. To attack us. Tinsel, bless his little elven heart, wasn't the sneakiest elf in the world. He had been trailed the entire way from the workshop to Washington, D.C. A spy following orders from that turncoat Twinkle. Reported back to Claus about our plan. As soon as the hangar doors opened, a fleet of sleigh, each one signaled by the screeching of its robo-deer, descended from the sky. They came at us, guns blazing. We took cover in the hangar and unloaded what we had. I have no idea how long the battle took, but it seemed to last for hours. Gingerbread men, nutcrackers, weirdly tall elves, and mechanized reindeer surrounded us. Our enemy was strong, but we were determined. After the smoke cleared, it was obvious. Claus won, we won, it was a draw. The Saints don't do draws. We won. Claus won. We were outgunned, outmanned, and had nowhere to run. I grabbed the rocket launcher, climbed aboard Air Force One, and started firing missile after missile at them. Twinkle, in his robo-deer-driven sleigh, swooped down and grabbed me. He dragged me up high into the sky. I remember the look he had, that twisted grin, that disgusting shimmer in his eye. "Happy New Year, girl," he said, and then he, let's just say when I landed on the dirt, I was short one arm, that bastard. I was losing blood fast and fading. The last thing I saw was Johnny climbing onto Twinkle's sleigh, and the scream he let out when the elf leveled my arm, still grasping onto that rocket launcher right at Gad's face. Soon after it was over, Air Force One was grounded, we were all taken hostage, and Christmas was forever ruined. The planet had fallen to an evil version of Santa and his no-good army of twisted Christmas icons. All hope was lost. We had no choice but to surrender to Claus's will. The world was his now, or so he thought. Last-ditch effort. The Saints had lost. All hope was gone. The world had fallen under the rule of Claus, and not even us Saints could save the day. Johnny was gone for real now. I lost an arm, though Twinkle instead insisted on replacing it so that I was still useful. Years went by. The boss was locked away in Claus's office, while the rest of us, including the other Saints with whom we'd been reunited were put to work in the mines. Our job, day in and day out, was to collect metals from the earth. All we had all we had to work with were a set of shiny hammers and some thimble-sized buckets. Why Twinkle and his men didn't make human-sized tools for us, I have no idea. Just another sign of their maliciousness. I suppose we had attempted many uprisings, of course, but they were all thwarted by the watchful eye of Claus, the lack of motivation. Overthrowing Claus and reclaiming the earth consumed our every waking moment. It filled our hearts with fire and our veins with acid. We ate, slept, and breathed, defying that monster. No cause surpassed the death and destruction of Claus, Twinkle, and everything they wrought. So no, it wasn't a lack of motivation. That trickmaster Twinkle. Oh, actually, that's true. While Claus was rarely seen, Twinkle and his giant elves were omnipresent. Like starving hawks, they watched our every move. We couldn't wipe a bead of sweat from our brow without bringing down their wrath. That didn't stop us. We developed a code, subtle gestures, inflections on certain words that helped us communicate with each other. With it, we were able to devise a plan right under their noses. The first phase of the operation was to lead a working uprising, take out Twinkle. Apparently, lead a worker uprising. The more the merrier, right? In order to take out Claus for good, we needed to make sure Twinkle and his crew were distracted. It was Pierce who came up with the plan. I know, I was surprised too. Actually, not really. It was Asha and Ben who put it into action. Kinsey faked an injury to draw the guard's attention. Ben struck from behind while Asha grabbed the giant elf's weapon. When other guards came running, I rallied the workers. By the time Twinkle and his posse showed up, we had taken the mine. The giant elves lay at our feet, and the workers stood by our side. We were ready for phase 2, smoking a bulb. I'm gonna smack you. I swear to God. Now that we know it's Shaundi who's writing this shit, it's like, I'm gonna smack you, I swear to God. Taking out Twinkle, apparently so. Thought it was the Robo Reindeer. The Robo Deers. Anyway, damn right. I was gonna get that son of a bitch for my arm. For Johnny. And for siding with Claus and helping start this whole mess in the first place. The workers took their tiny tools and acquired guns from the giant elves. Asha and Ben cleared out the others, while I leaped on that bastard Twinkle like a jungle cat. I wasted no time pummeling Twinkle into a pulp. With my last punch, I drove my fist through his giant elf face, and in the ground below. With Twinkle down, we stormed Claus's compound, seeing us energized. The workers who had been on the assembly line, they took up arms alongside us. The battle of Santa's workshop was long and bloody. Sometime during the battle, I got my hands on a crimson cowboy, the best weapon in the elven arsenal. We were just outside Claus's office when a robo deer with a glowing nose charged me. I leveled my gun and squeezed the trigger. The bullet bounced off the reindeer's metal hide and landed square in my eye. Jesus Christ. I went down but wasn't out. I rose again, and together we tore Robo Rudolph apart. The path to Claus's office was now clear. We threw open the door, ready to take that monster down once and for all. But the monster's room was empty. Claus was gone. All that was left was a note. Nice try, Saints. You did really well. But I'm afraid you're stuck in this living hell. One planet couldn't beat me. Don't you see? Now the universe will fall just as easily. By the way, I've got your boss. I'd be lying to say I was sorry for your loss. Had all our fighting been for nothing? No way. We couldn't let Claus win. We couldn't let the entire universe fall under his regime. We had to stop Claus, but how? To to find reserve of Christmas magic in the workshop. We looked, but there was nothing left. Wish upon a star? No. This time machine. Claus had found Zinjak's time machine and hidden it in the back of his office. I had never been so happy to see a machine in my life. Kinsey would disagree. The machine was mangled, though. Half of it was missing, using parts from the destroyed Robo Rudolph, some of which were used to fix my eye, and a little elven ingenuity. Kinsey and Matt got the machine back in working order, but it only had enough juice to send one of us back. Matt thought should be Asha. Ben suggested Kinsey, but it was Pierce who said it should be me. Shandy's lost the most of any of us, he said. Maybe I'd been too hard on Pierce this whole time. I thought, plus, if she doesn't come back, we still have everybody important. Or maybe not. Maybe I've been too hard on him. Maybe not, Still, I agreed. I would make the trip back to my own past. But how far back to go? I could have traveled back and warned everyone about the Zin invasion. But I also knew I needed to be able to get back to my time. Also, if we had never been abducted, we wouldn't have gotten Johnny back. So I chose the day before Claus came to power. We would have defeated Zinyak already and had his time machine, but it wouldn't be too late to save Christmas. See? I set the course, stepped into the machine, and hit the button, and like that, I was gone. The future. We had done it. Claus had been defeated. The Saints Santa had been saved. The boss even learned the true meaning of Christmas. But I couldn't stay. I had to get back to my own time, but not before taking part in the most glorious montage the world had ever seen. After that, I said my goodbyes to everyone and stepped into the Zin time machine. I set the machine for the only date I could and pressed the button. In a flash, I disappeared from the past and materialized back into the present. I don't know how I got my hands on this fucking book that she wrote after she got back to the future, but hey. I stepped out of the machine and to find myself inside a museum. Sometime during the decades since we successfully saved Christmas, the Saints had apparently forgotten that I'd be coming through that damn thing and stashed it inside a history exhibit. Not a big deal. Not that big of a deal, except for the fact that dinosaurs had taken over the planet. Zinyak come back to life. The museum was closed for holidays. Zinyak come back to life. No. Though I suppose there's always Saints Row 5. Hint, hint. Though I suppose there's always Saints Row 5. Well, no, that DLC isn't officially canon. The museum had closed for holidays. Admittedly, not the most epic of the options, but yes, the museum was closed for the holidays, which meant I couldn't get out. Unless I broke the glass with my cyber arm. Which I did. The world outside was magnificent. Lights of every color sparkled on the fronts of every building. Children and grown-ups alike were making snowmen on street corners. From storefronts, I could hear carols and hymns lilting onto the street. I don't know. Christmas and those other holidays too had survived. I asked an orphan boy what day it was, and he told me it was Christmas Eve. There was still time. Okay, that last part didn't happen, but of course I had to come back to the day before Christmas. I had to see it. I had to really know we had won. The first place I went was the boss's place. Have you seen that place? Add a couple more decades of boss to that hole. And no, thank you. Let's pretend. I'm going to pretend you didn't say that, Johnny's. Predictable, right? But look, after everything we've been through, and after losing him again, thanks to Twinkle, it was the first place I thought of that would have been proof beyond proof that we really had changed the future. But when I went to his door, he didn't answer. I knocked again, no answer. It wasn't until after I busted down his door, this cyberarm is pretty awesome, that I realized he wasn't there. No message, no nothing. Feeling saddened and a little bit lonely, I decided for my next stop to the boss's place. No, seriously, I'd follow him through hell, but living with them... I follow him through hell, but living with him? No. No way. Kinsey's place. Ah. Fucking hell, I should have picked the Pearson one. We were like sisters, right? I figured that if anyone would know where Johnny was, or where anybody was, it would be Kinsey. I took a cab to her inner sanctum and knocked on that big ugly garage door, but again, there was no answer. I thought about ripping it off its hinges. Could my cyber arm even do that? But no, she was probably off being Kinsey somewhere. You know, Kinsey-ish. Or maybe she had moved. I realized then that it had been a long time, and people moved, and, hell, people die. Maybe there was no more saints. There were no more saints. A sobbing thought. With nowhere left to go, I went to the boss's place. Not gonna happen. Ben King's place. I actually don't know where Ben lives. He never invited me over. Huh. My place. I had bought the place outright with the cash I got from that game show, so I figured if any place had the best chance of still being around, it was my place. I grabbed the cab and headed home. I couldn't believe nobody was around, or that nobody was there to greet me. I mean, I told them I was going to Christmas Eve 2035, so you think at least one of them could mark it on the calendar and maybe say thanks, Shawnee, for warning us about Claus and helping turn the tide of human history, and also for saving Santa and Christmas and those other holidays too. But no, nothing for old one-armed Shawnee. After the cab left, I stood for a moment in the cold December air. It was dark out, not a hint of snow. I knew I should be happy just to be home, but I felt empty, alone, sad. I was heading towards the door when I realized that I didn't have my keys. I was going to have to bust down my own door. Well, it turns out I didn't need to, because as soon as I got closer, my cyber arm turned to a lockpick. It's a mechanical limb, not a Swiss Army knife, but that would be cool, yes. My house blew up. You sure have a love for theatrics, don't you? My door opened, and there he was, Johnny, that big goofy grin on his face. And it wasn't just him. It was Kenzie and Asha and Matt and Ben and Pierce and the boss. They hadn't forgotten. In fact, they all knew the one place I would eventually have to come back to. They welcomed me home with hugs and high fives and rounds of Merry Christmas. Kinsey was just telling us about how Santa had given everyone a special present as a thank you when I heard a strange yet familiar voice from the kitchen yell, "Is she here?" A strange vibe filled the room. At that point, everybody hushed except for Kinsey. "Oh," she said. "Ooh," she said. "I suppose I should have warned you." "It's all right, Kinsey," the voice in the kitchen said. "I'm sure she'll recognize me." And into the room walked me, another me. No cyber arm, no robot hair, short hair. I always wondered what I'd look like with short hair. Kinsey did her best to explain. When we saved Christmas, we started an alternate timeline. This is the you that exists without Claus and Twinkle and all that happening. I admit, it was weird, like really weird. But okay, I mean, I was used to hanging out with other versions of me by that point. Hey, let's knock back some nog. What do you say? Typical Piers, or at least some eggnog flavored Saints Flow. What a surprise. So we did, and we talked and laughed and shared stories while outside it started to snow. We gathered around the tree and sang carols until late. That night, after everyone had left and I was snugged in bed, I heard footsteps on my roof. I knew it wasn't the name brand sneakers of gang thugs or webbed feet of some alien race or the tromping metal repulsors of Robo Deer, but the pitter-patter of hooves and the shiny boots of Saint Nick. Tomorrow morning, I'd wake up and see what Santa had delivered me. Whatever it was, I already had the only present I could ever ask for. The best Christmas ever. And so ends Saints Row 4 Reelected. My God. What an interesting way to end the game, right? One interesting way to end this game, but we are actually done with the game. How about I hop into the simulation to end it officially? Because we've been in the simulation for so long, I think it would be best if we ended it inside of the simulation as well. So yeah. Wow, what an ending. Probably one of the most action-packed endings we have ever seen. But it's the end for Saints Row 4 re-elected, but not yet. We're close though. I mean, we're not kinda, but... We aren't done yet with the Saints Row franchise, but we are close enough to the end. So yeah, so... To each and every last one of you who watched the entirety, or even just this one video, or, you know, and any other video that I have made, so either the entire game, or just this one video. Thank you guys so very much for watching. It's been a real joy to make it, to make these videos, to play the game, you know. I've had a lot of fun, even if I didn't sound like it all the time, but that's because I just didn't have nothing to say. I still had fun, I just didn't have anything to say. But... unfortunately, this is the end. So once again, thank you all so very much for watching. And I mean that about any of my videos. You know, it means the world to me that you guys are actually watching my content. Like, there's a lot of content out there on YouTube, and if any of you pick my content, either now or in the future, thank you. But this is unfortunately it for Saints Row 4 re-elected.
Fighting off rival gangs seems so tame.
But yeah. Like I said before, I'll give this game a low 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed my time with it, but that's probably because of the superpowers. But yeah. So, for the last time, thank you guys so very much for watching. And, well, next time in the Saints Row world, when we come back, we will be going through Get Out of Hell. So, with that being said, I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I really do hope so. That you guys indeed have enjoyed. And if you did, please hit like button, subscribe if you know if not done so already, turn on notifications, and as always, stay tuned for more. Bye!